Hey there, let's try take two, huh? So tell me, what does Abraham Lincoln, Michael Jordan, Oprah Winfrey, Colonel Sanders, Walt Disney, and J.K. Rowling all have in common? Do you know? My name is Manny Cabrera. I am the chief instructor and president at Sidekicks Family Martial Arts Centers. This is one of our classrooms where we actually had just got done doing the teen and adult martial arts class. Had a couple people in here. It was a lot of fun. And so what I want to do is I want to kind of talk about a little bit of like what I think is the number one, reason kids aren't happy these days. And so I asked you originally, what is Abraham Lincoln and Michael Jordan and Oprah Winfrey, Colonel Sanders, Walt Disney, J.K. Rowling, others? Maybe you've seen this meme on like Pinterest or on Facebook. Basically, before they were top of their game, before they were people who we all look up to as exemplar or as great examples in their field or as great people, someone told them that they were just not going to make it. They were not going to be anything. They weren't going to amount to anything. They weren't going to be successful. None of that. And you can go on. We can go talk about Steve Jobs and Albert Einstein, and there's so many others. But like, let's talk about, like, since we had the election yesterday, let's talk about Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln like failed in business three times, and then failed in his campaigns 7 times before he was finally, eventually elected to, I think he was elected to the Senate, and then he was elected, finally elected as president originally. Like, talk about like people sending you a pretty clear message. Like, everybody's like, dude, you ain't got it, bro. You're not going to be anything. Michael Jordan. And hats off to LeBron and everybody. Michael Jordan is the greatest basketball player of all time, in my opinion. But Michael Jordan was cut from his high school basketball team. Like, his coach in high school said, Michael, you ain't got it, buddy. Like, you ain't got the skills in order to be anything. Like, you're not going to be anything in basketball. And had he listened to that person, man, we would have been deprived of maybe some of the greatest basketball playing that's ever been seen. One of the best businesses that, with Air Jordans, just all of these examples of things that Jordan has done in his lifetime. Oprah Winfrey is in the same vein. Oprah Winfrey was fired from her first job as a reporter because the director at the TV place felt she was unfit for television. Colonel Sanders, famously, like maybe you heard the Colonel Sanders story, he went to he tried to sell his recipe to over 1,000 restaurants before somebody finally, bought the Colonel Sanders recipe for chicken. Walt Disney, was fired from a newspaper for lacking imagination. Can you imagine being the editor at a newspaper and saying that the guy who we know as Walt Disney today lacked imagination and lacked the ability to be creative? Like, that's crazy. And then, of course, there's J.K. Rowling, who wrote, when she was trying to sell Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, or as it was the Philosopher's Stone, she was rejected by 12 publishers before she finally sold it. And then the editor at the house that she sold it to told her not to quit her day job. Like, we don't think this is going to be successful. Like, is it successful enough to sell or to purchase, to option, but not that it's going to be a windfall for income for her. And, the thing is that think about in your life, like if you sat down, you could make a list in your own life of people that told you that you were not going to be any good, that you were always going to be making mistakes, that maybe you were a screw up. And the challenge is that at some point in our life, we listen to that person, and it's limited our ability to be successful since. There's a good person that I follow here, that I've been to a couple of his events. His name's Dwayne Spires, and he said, he talks about the little voice syndrome always in your head. Like, what is it that you've been listening to in your head that you gained as a child that is still dictating decisions as your adult life? And you could make a list of everybody that is basically telling you that's keeping you back from achieving your goals. And that's a tough thing, man. Like, I got to tell you, Michael Jordan's basketball coach. So it's in the field that he ended up in. Basketball coach told him, hey, you don't have the skills to play on this basketball team. Now, at the time, may have been true. Like Jordan's basketball handling skills may not have been the best. There may have been so many others at his high school that it was easy to cut him, but instead of listening, it spurred him on to greatness. So like for every Michael Jordan that ends up not listening to everybody that tells them that they're not going to be successful, how many kids in America or just here in the Fishhawk area, how many of those kids listened or are listening, are hearing the soundtrack in their head that's telling them, you know what, you're a screw up, you're not going to make it, you're no good, you can't do this. And it is becoming the soundtrack for every single thought and decision that they are making and are going to make for the rest of their lives. That's a tragedy. I mean, that's tragic. Hi, Steve Johnson in Texas. It's good to talk to you, sir. It's heartbreaking in general. It's a heartbreaking thing to think about. A lot of times, one of Dr. Robin Silverman, who created our character development program that we use here at Sidekicks, she says that there was a study done where they were surveying a bunch of kids, and that kids could not count 3 adults in their lives that they felt like they could turn to when it was, when they needed help or when they needed guidance or that they could turn to as a mentor. And that's rough. That's a rough thing. One of the things we try to always have done at Sidekicks is to be one of those people, or if you're instructors, to be, several of those people that those kids could turn to, could look to say, hey, you know what, buddy? I think that you're going to be able to do it. I think that you can make it. I think that you have the potential already inside you to be whatever thing that you want to be that's going to be your measurement of success already inside you. And if that's the number one thing that I ever do, I'm going to be happy with that. Steve, you're 100% right. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. And the problem is that when we learn it as a child, it's very hard for us to understand that we're stuck there. We can't, if it's all if you were told, hey, you're a screw up, then you're always going to play that soundtrack, and then you're going to end up being a screw up. And it's very tough. And it's in communities, communities up and down the socioeconomic, classes, of our society. And it's rough, man. Everybody that you hang out with should be people that are lifting you up. So you're an adult now, and maybe you're noticing, okay, you know what? I have been listening to bullshit. Sorry, guys. I have been listening to people in my mind, in my circle, who are holding me back, who are tearing me down, who are people who are not going to help me get to where I want to be in my life. And you can, somebody told me that you're the CEO of your life. You can promote, demote, or terminate. And terminate means to exit them out of your life, not literal termination. You can terminate them from your life. And honestly, sometimes it's going to be family members. Sometimes it's people who, are supposed to be the closest to you and love you, but because of their own soundtrack and their own mind, it's entirely possible that it's the thing that's influencing you the best. And I am always, maybe not always, sometimes, but I'm always trying to be conscious of that in my own children. Hey, whatever screw ups that I have going on, whatever soundtrack I have playing in my head, because everybody does. Everybody's got something. I'm trying not to let it, I'm trying to always be positive with my kids to tell them, hey, I know that you can do this. I know that you can succeed. I know that even though, hey, maybe e-learning is not your favorite thing, you could overcome it. You can, still get to the things that you want to be. So ask yourself, yes or no, have you allowed everybody, the other people, to influence your decisions to keep you from being where you want to be? Has there been, maybe it was your mom, maybe it was your dad. I know that if you ever watch Gary Vee, he's always about that. It's always your mom or dad. But maybe it was somebody who was your friend in elementary school, and they told you, hey, you're just dumb, and you bought into it because you wanted them to like you at the time. And that relationship may have gone away, but the lesson that you learned from it has stuck. And so, one of the things that we try to do when we're, trying to create a mastermind environment. Like we try to create a mastermind environment inside of our school, and with our, life's mastery coaching program, we try to create a mastermind environment inside of that where we can depend on each other. There's 3 keys to it. Number 1 is there's no negative influences allowed. If there is if you're going to be a negative person, then we have to kind of just exit you or, from away from the group and help you get to the right mindset before we can let you, influence the rest of the people. The same thing is that we try to, 3 keys that we do. We try to, tap into that 6th sense, kind of like that third brain that comes from having all the added brain power. And because, like, truthfully, if the negative influences are the same powerful influence into the soundtrack that you're playing to keep you from achieving your dreams, then being around people who are on the same mission as you, who want the same, maybe not necessarily the same exact goal, but the same fulfillment and contentment and satisfaction and contribution to life, to the community that you live in as you, is going to be the same kind of thing. It's going to help lift you up and accelerate your results because now you're thinking bigger. And so that's one of the advantages, and so I'm really, I think that's one of the number 1 reasons is because, and that's kind of like what I talk about with our staff here at Sidekicks and our coaches, is that, like, kids are getting crapped on, man. They go to school and somebody's mean to them that day, and maybe they didn't do their homework, and then their teacher gets on them, and maybe they didn't do their maybe they didn't do one of their chores, and the parent gets on them. And so when they come to Sidekicks, we try to be that one place at least where, hey, dude, we're just glad to see you. We're excited that you're here. You know what I mean? And hopefully that influences them to the best. But we can do that to ourselves. So my suggestion is focus on your circle. Who is it that you are being influenced by, and who are those people who are going to help you get to the next level? Even if they're comfortable, sometimes it's time to get uncomfortable. My name is Manny Cabrera, and I'm excited that you listened to me for today. And we'll be back tomorrow around this time. And if you have anything if there's anything I can do for you, let me know. If you want to talk about our Life Mastery Coaching Program, just drop a coaching call in the comment section, and I'd be happy to hook you up with a free one so we can talk. All right, guys, I'm going to go home and get some rest because I got to get to the gym early in the morning. Good night, guys.